I built 40 AI automations to run my business, and one of them actually deleted half my Notion database while I was at work. 40 crons, 1 Mac Mini, 5 hours a week. This is what went wrong. By the end of this video, you're going to see every disaster that happened, the deletion, the crons that fought each other, the other ones that hallucinated, its own rules, and I'm going to walk you through the exact system that I built. None of this happens again. And I call this the Guardrail Stack. And honestly, is the only reason that all of these crons work. So here's this dashboard. You see a bunch of things happening. These are live feeds, so it should actually capture things that are breaking, as you can see here, and you can see here. And here's a little snapshot of all the crons that I got running live. And you can kind of see the status here. Error, most of them are good, but once you start having a lot, you start realizing that it becomes harder to maintain. But here's the thing about AI automation. It's addictive. You build something and you just want to keep doing it. And the first cron that I started with OpenClaw was the morning brief. It was a simple cron, supposed to give me the news, but even this is pretty complex. It can be. Where are you going to get the news from? But initially, I just told my OpenClaw, I want the news, scrape Google, scrape whatever you think is reasonable, and just give me the news. And slowly, it's evolved the format. But this is one of the most easier ones to maintain because it's straightforward. You just get the news once or twice a day. And this took me maybe about an hour to set up, and it just worked. It was the first one that was consistently just reporting every day at 7 a.m. A little briefing was just sitting there waiting for me. One of these saves me about 15 minutes a day. What would 10 of them do? So I went all in. Content research, scanning Reddit, and X for trending topics, script generation, newsletter drafting, lead enrichment, analytic dashboards. And here's a little snippet of it again for all of them. And at one point I had over 100 crons. AI automations running in a single Mac Mini, and it sounded cool and productive. But a lot of them were just failing in the background. I couldn't keep tabs. They were hard to maintain. And the problem was the quality wasn't good. So I was fake productive. And for a minute, it felt like I'd cracked the code. Right? I'm working, I'm doing other things, I'm living life, and things are getting done in the background. And I've got maybe 5 to 10 hours a week just to spare on this side project, Chris Builds AI. And here I am just producing 14 shorts and 2 long form videos every single week with no team, no editor, no contractors, just me. But here's what nobody tells you about AI automation. The building part, that's maybe 20% of the actual work. Here's everything more spaced out. This is the hard part. Just look at this. It's a lot of stuff happening and it sounds good, but you can see, you start seeing errors. That's the problem. It's a lot to manage on your own is what I'm getting at. This becomes a part-time job just managing stuff and as they break. So let me tell you about like the first thing that went wrong. So I came home from work on a Tuesday, half my database was just gone. It wasn't even corrupted, not even hidden, just gone, deleted, and just nuked a database that decided that was the best way to clean up duplicate entries. And because I wasn't watching, because it was just a point of automation, it just kept going. And by the time I noticed, I lost maybe a few weeks worth of data, which not that important, but the problem was that I gave AI power to do stuff and it didn't go how I planned. It did exactly what you expect an unsupervised agent to do, right? It made a decision that seemed logical and destroyed real work. That night I added a rule to just never do stuff like that, to ask for approval for any large deletion like that. And that rule is still here today. It's just the first rule every agent needs to inherit. But the Notion incident was just the beginning. This second disaster was more subtle and honestly scarier. I had about 15 crons, all scheduled on the same window, morning, content scoring, script generation, all firing within minutes of each other and then starting fighting. But like they were competing for the same resources, reading from the same database, sometimes writing on the same fields at the same time. One cron would pull fresh research, another would score ideas based on old data. And the first hadn't finished writing yet. So the outputs were just starting to get weird. Scores didn't match the research. And it was like having 15 employees all trying to do the same, trying to use the same desk at the same time. So I implemented the 45-minute gap rule that shared data resource can run within 45 minutes of each other. It's simple, but it took watching things break for about 2 weeks until I figured out why. Think of a cron as a sub-agent within OpenClaw. And each sub-agent, they need instructions, right? They're not just gonna run randomly. You wouldn't want them to because they would just generate anything. So every cron has payload and that's instructions. I kept making these payloads longer. That's wrong because once the payload crosses about 2,200 characters, the model starts hallucinating their own rules. One cron just started refusing to write about certain topics because it convinced itself that the topics were off limits. I never told it that. And so how do you fight the payload issue? You create a skill file. So you create a skill within OpenClaw and then reference it in the payload. And so what you do in the payload or in the cron instructions, you just say, hey, listen, read this skill before implementing it. So you'll have a shorter payload, shorter instructions, and you just reference the skill. That's the workaround that I found. It works really well, and you don't run into that hallucination issue. If this is helping you at all, subscribe. Continuing on, the waste, honestly, it was just embarrassing. Like my Reddit research cron ran every day scraping Reddit and dumping 50 items into my database. So let me show you what it looks like here. It just dumps all this analysis, finds interesting subreddits, and then chooses the best ideas and then dumps them into a separate database that my OpenClaw just has access to. And any time I'm going to generate like a topic or a script or create content, those are ideas that I can reference. But a lot of ideas are just garbage. How many of those 15 items did my video strategy cron actually pick up? 0, not even 1. And another cron scanning for leaked AI prompts dumped 137 before I even added quality gates. It felt good. I was like, oh my God, these crons are just working and just dumping a lot of junk into this database. And then when I audited them, like 90%, a lot of them, I would just say majority of them, 90+% of them were just noise. So I had to delete that. And so here, what I have here, this is my OpenClaw command center. You can customize it. So this is kind of like different workflows that I have for long form, shorts, newsletter, etc. But this one is interesting. This is a calendar. This is something that's evolved over time. But all these things in the calendar are actually crons or tasks, sub-agents that are running every single day. There's different ones running every day, but at any given day, I don't have to ask Aries, hey, what are you doing? But the point is, it tells me which stuff. And as you can see here, I can see the 45-minute gap or more. And if I ever see anything wrong, or if I see something break, or if I have a question about what's coming next, I can just go here and look. And that's pretty much how the Guardrail Stack was born. The system that I use to just protect crons from breaking, for me to understand what crons are running at any given point, and at the same time to understand pipelines or systems of how each cron is connected to each other. It's just more like a framework that I adopted. It's a set of rules that just keep 45 automations from destroying my entire mini solo business that I have here when no one's watching. And I'm going to walk you through exactly how it looks like. Everyone shows you the building, but no one's actually showing you the guardrails. And these are the guardrails that do 80% of the work for me. And so as you can see here, I have different rules: execution, decision, safety. So going back to the execution, I personally have run into an issue when my agent or my OpenClaw has said, I'm going to do something. And then she's like, yeah, I'll knock this out later tonight. She can remember to do it. And it would never happen, and I will forget. So if you're going to do something, just do it right now. Long story short, this just ensures that we're talking about something right on the moment, whether it's building a new cron, a new system, let's do it right now, because I'm going to forget. Or if we're not going to do it right now, then let's create a reminder and create a task. And what I do personally, I tell Aries, you have access to my calendar. Just either add it to my Google Calendar or add it to my Notion task, because I work off Notion. Second rule here is decision capture. Just write strategic decisions immediately. You leave it up to them to choose whether or not they're going to remember. You're betting that they're going to remember. If it's something extremely important, force your OpenClaw to write it immediately. And then there's some safety rules. But the reason I have her own email address is so she has access to Google Drive. So this is just safety precaution. Don't send emails, don't do tweets, don't do anything in public. I'm the one doing that. But you can help me generate tweets. You can help me generate emails or draft emails, and I'll review and I'll tweak. And this is the 45-minute rule that I was talking about earlier. Just when you're stacking up crons, just make sure they're separated apart. You don't want to put them too close together, because sometimes a cron, if you're like, hey, search, I want you to search for jobs for me, for example. I want you to search GitHub for me and find these interesting, or even just this repo, and I want you to read it, understand it. That can take 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And so if you stack them too close together, they may fail. That way your OpenClaw is not fighting for resources. And then pre-flight check is just before suggesting anything, just look in your memory. If you, let's say we're going to generate next week's content and I'm stumped. I'm like, damn, okay, I like these 13 topics that are generated, but hey, Aries, can you recommend another one? The last thing you would want is for her to recommend the same ones that were either generated or maybe you did last week. So looking in the memory would help your OpenClaw just give better thought at whatever answer you're looking for. And then data over vibes. This is an important one. The point is you don't want them to rely on that, because that knowledge is very limited at any given point. You always want them to research. You want them to search the documentation and actually give you thoughtful responses. And then finally, this is the other rule, the enhancer rule. This is something new. This is something that was inspired from a repo that's very recent, and it's the auto search repo, which is kind of a loop. It's meant for helping an agent kind of autonomously teach itself, from what I understand. And what we adopted from that repo is just a way for it to improve. And so what this does, it teaches how to score, and just that's the enhancer rule, just basically to learn and to improve over time. And that's pretty much it. This is not hope you follow it or a recommendation. It's actually do what's in the rules here, basically. All right, so here's what I would want you to take away from all of this. I have a full-time job. I can't babysit 40 automations. The Guardrail Stack is the only reason this madness works. And I only have a feeling it's going to get more complicated. You need to find a way to manage stuff. It's like a framework to keep everything in duct tape, no matter what angle you take. Maybe you don't build system like this and you just want to have 20 crons just doing your thing. Maybe it's more simpler than that. I'm not even saying that complex is better. But the point is, these frameworks still work because no matter what you're doing, you don't want to ever stack them up. You don't ever want your open cloud to hallucinate. All the issues that I covered, that's what the Guardrail Stack is for, because it's a system that protects itself from itself. And look, everyone's excited about AI automation right now, and they should be, but the gap is between I built a cool automation and I have a system that actually runs my business is just enormous. And that's the gap that I filled with these guardrails. And I'm learning this live. $47 of lifetime revenue so far, 40 crons on my Mac Mini, 5 hours a week. If you want to watch someone actually build this from zero, no fake, no inflated numbers, just real thing, then just stick around and subscribe. I'll catch you on the next one.